All right, suit up, everybody, because today we're going deep on the Iron Man mindset. We're talking about Tony Stark, genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, the whole thing. And we're going to look at what we can learn from his journey to unlock our own potential.
You know what's really interesting about Tony is that he's not just a superhero with cool gadgets, right? He's like a blueprint for how we can grow as people. We can actually apply his evolution from a kind of self-absorbed inventor to a hero who's really responsible. We can apply that to our own lives.
Okay, I love that. So where do we even begin with a character as complex as Tony Stark?
Well, I think a really good starting point is when he stops building weapons and he kind of starts to protect people. He really sees the impact that his creations have, and he just chooses to use all of his talents for good. I mean, that's a powerful lesson right there. It's like understanding the responsibility that comes with what you're good at.
Yeah, it's not just about having talent. It's about using it for something bigger than yourself. But how can, our listeners actually apply this? I mean, we're not all building Iron Man suits in our garages.
Exactly. It's not about how big the action is,
Yeah.
It's about figuring out what you're really good at and then deciding how you can use that to do something meaningful. Like, are you a creative thinker? Are you good at solving problems? Maybe you're great at connecting with other people. I mean, these are all really valuable things, and they can make a difference in your own little world,
Yeah, it's like finding your own superpower and then using that superpower to make the world a little bit better, even if it's just like your corner of the world.
Totally. Now, another really key part of the Iron Man mindset is owning up to your mistakes. Remember when Tony realizes that his weapons are being used to hurt people? He doesn't just shy away from it, he confronts it head on.
Yeah, that's a huge turning point in his story. It would have been easier to ignore it all, but he decides to take responsibility for what he did and actually change his direction.
Yeah.
But how can we learn from this as people? We all make mistakes, but it's easy to just blame other people.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's so easy to get defensive and make excuses. But think about it. Every mistake, every setback, it's an opportunity to learn and grow. Tony's story really shows us that saying, hey, I messed up, even if it feels bad, it's the first step towards making things right.
It's like you're clearing the path for something better, right?
Exactly. Now, another thing that Tony is really good at is constant innovation. I mean, he's always messing with that Iron Man suit. He's always pushing the limits of what's possible. It's incredible.
Yeah, building that arc reactor in a cave. Talk about being resourceful. That just shows how he can adapt and invent new things, even when he's under pressure. But how can we be more like that in our regular lives? How do we become more innovative?
I think the biggest thing is that you don't have to be a genius to be innovative. It's about being curious, It's about asking yourself, how can I make this better? And then being open to trying new things and experimenting. Think about your own life. Is there something you can do easier or better? Is there a skill you can learn? You always try to improve yourself.
So it's like always learning, never settling, and always trying to push your limits, even if it's just little ways.
Exactly. And you know all of this stuff. The innovation, the risk-taking. It all comes from Tony's confidence. He really believes in himself and what he can do. And that's what lets him take action, even when things seem impossible.
Yeah, his confidence is like a superpower itself. But where's the line between confidence and being arrogant? How can people make sure they're being confident in a good way?
Oh, that's a great question. You're right, there's a big difference. Arrogance is about ego. But real confidence comes from understanding your strengths and even your weaknesses. It's not about being perfect, it's about believing in yourself and knowing that you can learn, grow, and deal with obstacles.
So it's not about bragging or making other people feel bad. It's about trusting yourself to handle whatever comes your way.
Exactly. And the great thing is you can actually get better at being confident. It's not something you're born with. It's something you build by doing things, taking action, and being proud of even the small things you achieve. We were talking about dealing with obstacles. And I think we really have to talk about Tony's relationship with failure. I mean, he has some massive setbacks. Obadiah Stane, Ultron Thanos, and every single time he comes back even stronger.
It's like those failures actually make him grow.
Yeah.
They don't stop him. He uses them to learn to adapt, and he ends up even better than before. It's actually pretty inspiring.
It really shows how resilient he is. What if we could all look at our own failures that way? What if instead of seeing them as these giant walls, we saw them as stepping stones?
Yeah, so we're talking about changing how we look at failure. Seeing it as a way to learn and improve, not a reason to quit. But how do we actually do that? I mean, it's easier said than done to just bounce back from a failure.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely not always easy. But one thing Tony shows us is that it's really important to analyze your mistakes. Like, why did something go wrong? What could you have done differently? When you ask yourself these questions, you actually learn something. And that can help you avoid making the same mistake again.
So you're basically turning those failures into information and then using that information to make better choices in the future.
Exactly. Now, something else that's really interesting about Tony is how his priorities change. In the beginning, he's all about staying alive, right? That's why he built the suit in the first place. But as he grows, he realizes that protecting other people is important. The people he cares about and what he believes in.
Yeah, you really see that in his relationship with Pepper and Peter.
Yeah.
He goes from being this lone wolf to being someone who's willing to sacrifice everything for the people he loves. It's a huge change.
Yeah, it really highlights something important. Success doesn't mean anything if it doesn't have a purpose. Tony's story reminds us that it's not just about reaching your goals, it's about making sure your goals actually mean something and making sure you have people to share them with.
Right, like what's the point of having everything if you have no one to enjoy it with?
Exactly. And this actually leads us to one of the most important parts of Tony's story, redemption. He starts out making all these mistakes and being selfish, but he goes through all these challenges and he comes out the other side as a real hero. Someone who's willing to give up everything for the greater good.
Yeah, it's the classic hero's journey. But it's so well done. You really see him fight his own demons, make difficult choices, and in the end, he becomes a better person.
And what's so great is that it reminds us that we can all change and grow. It doesn't matter what we've done in the past or what mistakes we've made. It's never too late to decide to be better and do good in the world.
Yeah, when he sacrifices himself in Endgame,
Yeah.
it's such a sad moment. But it's also the perfect ending to his story.
Yeah.
It really shows how much he's grown and how powerful selfless actions can be.
It really does. It shows how his whole mindset changed. But even though Tony was a genius and a hero, he also knew how important teamwork was.
Oh yeah. Even Iron Man can't save the world all by himself, right? When he joins the Avengers, it shows how working together can make everyone stronger and help them achieve things they couldn't do alone. Like that awesome battle scene where they're all fighting together, everyone using their own skills to win.
Yeah, it's the perfect example of how teamwork makes everyone better. Each Avenger has their strengths and weaknesses, but when they work together, they're unstoppable.
And that's something we can all use in our own lives. It doesn't matter if you're working on a project at your job, collaborating with friends, or even just dealing with your family. The important thing is to understand that everyone has a different point of view, and we can all learn from each other's strengths.
Absolutely. It's about realizing that you don't have to have all the answers. When you're open to working with other people and hearing their ideas, you can achieve so much more.
It's about recognizing that everyone has something important to contribute, but sometimes it's hard to know where to start with collaboration. Do you have any tips for our listeners on how to bring that Avengers spirit into their lives?
Well, I think the first step is communication. Be open to hearing what other people think, even if you disagree. And be willing to share your own knowledge and ideas, even if you don't feel like an expert.
So it's about creating a space where everyone feels safe to share and where everyone knows that their ideas are valued.
Exactly. We've covered a lot, from owning your mistakes to working as a team. But there's one more really important part of the Iron Man mindset, and I think it deserves its own attention.
Ooh, I like a good cliffhanger. What is it?
It's about never giving up on what you believe in. Even when things are really hard, it's about going after your dreams no matter what.
That's so true. I mean, Tony went through so much, corporate sabotage, alien invasions, you name it. But he never gave up on trying to make the world a better place.
Right, and that's something we can all do, no matter what our goals are. It's about having a vision of what you want and then actually working towards it, even when things get tough.
So it's more than just setting goals. It's about having that drive that keeps you going, even when you hit a roadblock.
Yeah.
But how can our listeners get that kind of determination? It's easy to get overwhelmed or discouraged,
Yeah, for sure. It's not always easy. One thing that might help is breaking down your goals into smaller steps. Like, Tony didn't just build the Iron Man suit overnight, right? He started with a basic design, then he kept improving it, trying new things, making it better. When you focus on those small wins, it gives you momentum. And that helps you feel more confident to keep moving forward.
Or you celebrate the small victories and use that to keep going.
Exactly. And another thing that can help is surrounding yourself with people who support you. Tony had Pepper Rhodey the Avengers, people who believed in him and his vision. Having that kind of network can be a game changer when you're facing tough times.
Yeah, it's like having your own personal cheerleading squad. People who lift you up when you're down and remind you why you're doing this in the first place.
Exactly. And when you look at Tony's whole journey, From those reckless early days to that final sacrifice, it really shows how powerful growth and change can be.
He went from being selfish to being a true hero, someone who was willing to give his life for everyone else. It really shows what we're all capable of.
It does. It reminds us that no matter where we are in our own lives, we can always learn and grow and become better.
So let's do a quick recap. We talked about owning up to our mistakes, being innovative, having confidence, dealing with failure, finding purpose, and the importance of teamwork and determination. That's a lot. Any final thoughts for our listeners on how to really live that Iron Man life?
I think the biggest thing to remember is this. The Iron Man mindset isn't about having a fancy suit or being a genius billionaire. It's about following certain ideas and ways of thinking that help us reach our full potential and do good in the world. It's about taking responsibility, being resilient, and always trying to learn and grow.
So it's not about what's on the outside. It's about what's on the inside.
Exactly. It's the journey that matters, not the destination. Like Tony Stark said, heroes are made by the path they choose, not the powers they are graced with. So choose your path carefully and never forget how much power you have to do amazing things.
That's a perfect way to wrap